Hey, everybody, it is Trags Mike Petralia back with the latest installment of the Jungle War Bengals postgame pod from Lambeau Field, where here on Sunday, the Bengals fell for the fourth straight time, 27-18 to the Green Bay Packers. Joining me, as always, is Richard Skinny of Local 12 and Local12.com. A reminder to everyone, this Jungle War Bengals postgame pod brought to you by the fine folks at Prize Picks. And of course, all good home improvement. Skinny, it was a tale of two halves. Unfortunately for the Bengals, more uncomplimentary football as the defense held its own again in the first half, allowing only 10 points, and then really couldn't stop a nosebleed when they needed to in the second half. The good news for the Bengals, Joe Flacco looked like the quarterback they wanted to acquire in that second half.
Yeah, I think you come away from this obviously disappointed with the loss. And to your point, I don't see a lot on defense that I can hang my hat on at the moment. We'll get to probably that more in depth. But I do think it gives you some level of hope that these next three home games are winnable because the offense now showed a level of competency. I think that's the thing I take away from this. And it took Joe Flacco a while to get going. That was certainly true. But, it kind of went back to last week's game. They got it to 28-17, 10 minutes to go. Defense is allowed to get a stop, and instead Detroit goes right down the field, puts the game away basically 35-17 at that point. Today, you get it to 10-7, give up a touchdown drive. You get it to 17-10, give up a touchdown drive. You get it to 24-18, and you give up the field goal drive that clinched it. I don't know what to say there because I don't know what the solutions are at the moment. It's just not a good enough unit.
We're going to have to start, I think, with Joe Flacco. He's right. Yep. The biggest story of the day, Skinny. I don't think there's any question about that. In the first half, the Bengals had the ball 5 times. The first 4 times, they went 3 and out 3 times. They got 1 first down on another drive, but in those first 4 drives of the game, they looked like they'd never played offense before, and that's, I guess, understandable considering Joe Flacco had never run this offense for Zach Taylor and Dan Pitcher before. So you have to give them a little grace, right?
Sure.
But again, the Bengals are not in a position where they have a great deal of margin of error coming into this game, and certainly going into Thursday night at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to have to get things on track. But going back to Joe Flacco, he finished 29 of 45, 219 yards. He was sacked only once, which I think is notable. And he had 2 touchdown passes, both on 4th down, one to Tanner Hudson in the third quarter, and then that play we can talk all night long about on 4th down to Jamar Chase. Your thoughts on how Joe Flacco looked?
Yeah, I thought he started to trust things a little bit more. And to your point, he didn't look comfortable, I guess, in the first half. I don't know if he looked uncomfortable. And I don't know if they knew what they had in him. Like, what are good plays for him? What are not good plays for him? I thought he got pressured a little bit more in the first half than he did in the second half. I know Zach talked after the game about, that kind of last drive before halftime when they went down and Evan McPherson missed a 67-yard field goal. They started to find something. And then, every drive in the second half, a couple of them got pushed to 4th down, to your point. But I thought he took easy completions. I thought he began to trust Jamar and T on some 50-50 balls and just say, you know what, you guys do go make plays. And, the one touchdown catch was just ridiculous, the one that Jamar made. And I think that's the thing moving forward is now you've got a game with those guys. Zach now has a game with him. And I think that's only going to help. And I do think that last drive in the second half gives you a glimmer of hope that, okay, this is what this offense can do with competent quarterback play and him having some reps in the system. And I know they didn't use that as an excuse of this being Joe's first start coming after they just signed him on a Tuesday. But I do think that this was a big deal that he performed the way he performed.
And Skinny, something we learned after the game was that Jamar Chase, I think, only had 11 or 12 reps with Joe Flacco during the week.
He was sick.
And he was sick. And the way Jamar Chase was talking after the game, this wasn't just a stomach bug. It seemed like it might have been a little bit more serious, and Jamar did not want to get into the details of what hit him on Thursday night and then forced him to essentially miss practice on Friday. He did go through the walkthrough on Friday, but he missed a lot of live active time with Joe Flacco, and certainly I think and Zach Taylor made mention of it as well. When you have a guy like Jamar Chase not at full strength and he still goes out and catches a touchdown pass, almost goes for 100 yards. Jamar Chase finished 10 catches on 12 targets for 94 yards. That speaks to the special talent Jamar is.
Yeah, no question about it. And like I said, I think if I'm not mistaken, Trags, he had 8 catches in the second half alone. I think he only had 2 in the first half. And probably 3 or 4 of those were tough catches. I mean, like he's got to make and get some tough yards after the catch. And they didn't get a chance to try a home run ball really today. I'm interested to see what that might look like. They did find some running lanes as the game went on. Not a ton. This team doesn't run it very well, but if they can do that a little bit more, I think it sets up for some play action stuff over the top that they're going to eventually hit.
All right, let's talk about the first drive of the second half because you know me, like Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com, we love teams that can run the ball and have balance. And for the first time since the first drive of the season in Cleveland, when they came out in that second half, I thought they're taking it to the Packers. They're blowing the guys off the line of scrimmage. They're creating some holes for Chase Brown to run through. There was one rugby scrum of a run for like 9 yards by Chase Brown, and everybody was behind him. And I can't help but think that that kind of attitude is really contagious. And it's like, okay, we're taking it to these guys. And then eventually that drive, as we mentioned earlier, gets capped off by a 4th and goal touchdown pass to Tanner Hudson in the back of the end zone. To me, that drive really showed that the Bengals do still have it in them.
Yeah, and the other part to that, too, is you're in 2nd and 4s. You're in 2nd and 5s. You're in 3rd and 2s. All manageable plays or open the playbook type plays like 2nd and 4. You can do a lot of things. Run it again, get a couple yards, or throw a pass. And I think it leads to easier completions because now suddenly – you might have to account for another guy and put another guy in the box to help stop the run. I think it opens up a world, and maybe they found a little something. Again, they didn't run it great. I think for just 50-some-odd, 57 yards, maybe something like that on 16 carries.
16 carries, 55 yards, 3.4 carries, which is like 5 yards a carry for other teams.
That's right. That's right. No, that's right.
Running the ball, but
no, that's right. And I think to your point, it did show a little physicality to start that second half. That's what I'm taking away from today of. There's no practice games in the NFL, but this was a game that kind of get yourself going in the right direction for this next 3-game stretch, and you have a legit chance to get to 5 and 4 at the bye. I think you might have signed up for that even with Joe Burrow when the season started. When you look at the schedule and go 5 and 4 at the bye, I can see that. That'd be great. You have a real legit chance to get there now, if only the defense takes a step forward, and I don't know if it's capable of that.
I just don't see enough playmakers on defense. I mean, we can talk about this at length a little bit later, but I want to finish up on the offense because on that first touchdown drive, I'm like, here we go again. The Bengals get 1st and goal at the 1. We get a false start on Noah Fant, and then Joe Flacco gets sacked on 3rd down or on a 3rd down. And then you have a 4th and goal.
Second down.
On second down, I was right.
Then on 3rd down, they hit that pass down around the 2-yard line that allowed them to go.
Correct. They got sacked on 2nd down, back to the 10. Then on 3rd down, they gained 7 yards, and then you're talking about essentially 4th and goal from the 2 or 3, pretty much. And Flacco makes a play. And I'm like, well, that is definitely something to build on because the offense shows some resiliency.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the false start just can't happen at the 1 yard. It just cannot. False starts are bad anytime because they're pre-snap penalties. But when you're that close knocking on the door, 1st and goal, the last thing you need is that. And then all of a sudden your quarterback, and that's what was going through my mind when Flacco got sacked, and it was the only time on the day he got sacked. Yes. I thought they're going to wind up settling for a field goal when they had it 1st and goal at the 1. That's this offense in a nutshell at the moment. But instead, they did find a way to score. And maybe that was enough of a confidence booster because from that point forward, they really, again, they did convert a 4th down for a touchdown on the pass to Chase. It wasn't like completely mowing down the field, but they moved the ball in a consistent pattern. I thought Joe Flacco took a bunch of easy completions at times of, all right, there's a 6-yard completion. Let's take that. Let's get us into a manageable situation. I thought he did a good job of that. And again, getting more balls to T and Jamar, I think you're going to see him do that because I think he's going to see that, these guys go make plays, man. These guys are different than other receivers I played with.
I want to talk about 2 notable injuries that the Bengals sustained here at Lambeau Field on Sunday, and also want to talk about what could have been the longest field goal ever in the National Football League if only the Green Bay head coach, Matt LaFleur, didn't call timeout. We'll do that after we tell you about All Good. All Good Home Improvement has been helping homeowners for 32 years. When looking for a home improvement company, the number one quality they're looking for is trust. For the last 32 years, All Good has been trusted to help homeowners replace their windows, install new vinyl siding, install new gutters, and professionally install a new roof. Now is the time to get your home ready for winter. Those leaves are going to start to be falling very, very shortly, and you get your home ready for winter with energy-efficient windows, a roof inspection, or even a gutter inspection. They would be glad. Ed Grant and the great people at All Good would be glad to come out and do a free inspection to see if your home is ready for the winter months. All Good offers interest-free financing with payments starting at just $99 a month, and also no money down. All of All Good's products are professionally installed and backed by both a material and labor warranty. And now they're offering this special only for Jungle Roar podcast listeners and viewers. If you need 10 windows, you can get 5 of them for free, plus an additional $500 off on the purchase by mentioning, yep, that you heard it here on the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod. Maybe you need 20 windows. That's 10 free and an additional $500 off by mentioning you heard it here on the Jungle Roar pod during All Good's buy one, get one free offer. So call my friend Ed Grant over at All Good for your free home inspection, 513-247-2900. That's 513-247-2900. As always, you can visit their website at myallgoodhome.com. Back with Richard Skinner of Local 12 and local12.com. 2 pretty significant injuries took place. I think one more significant than the other, obviously. Trey Hendrickson left in the last minute of the first half here at Lambeau Field on Sunday, and he took a back contusion. He took a hit in the back, and he left. Apparently his back was acting up so severely he could not return to the game. It was trainer Matt Summers holding his helmet as he was being walked to the Bengals visitor tunnel, and he did not return. That's a big loss, Skinny, obviously, and I think it kind of showed up in the second half with not a lot of pass rush.
Yeah, no, and you got to wonder with the short week coming up with the Thursday night game, that's such a quick turnaround, and backs can be tricky things. Will he be able to go? Maybe the good news is you do get Jamar Stewart back this week. You'll probably get Lucas Patrick back this week on the offensive line too. And we don't know the severity of Amarius Mims' injury when he went out late in the game. And so that's a big one there. Cody Ford came into play for him. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I tie all of the defensive woes to not having Trey Hendrickson, but let's face it, him not being out there doesn't help. That's for sure.
No. I mean, you're talking about the biggest impact player on defense. I don't think either of us would dispute that when he's playing, and we saw it last week against the Lions, 1 strip sack. He got another sack late in the game, almost had another strip sack. He makes plays, and the Bengals are in dire need of players like that. I also want to talk about Mike Gesicki. He also left in the first half with a pectoral injury. He was immediately ruled out, which I don't think is a great sign for him long-term this season.
No, I agree with you. It allowed Tanner Hudson's hardly gotten any snaps this year, and it allowed him to kind of take on his role. And he always does fine, man. Tanner's a solid player, but it's been a weird year. Mike had such a good year last year, was such a big part of this offense, and it never felt like they've ever gotten him going at any point. And then
I don't get that either.
I don't either. And maybe that was going to be part of the plan today, and obviously it comes to an end. And to your point, the fact they ruled him out with the pec injury probably is not a good sign moving forward.
All right, just before halftime, the Bengals were finally moving the ball. They had 3 first downs. They actually technically got into Green Bay territory at the 49-yard line, and Joe Flacco did a great job clocking the ball, leaving 1 second off. The scoreboard operator here, of course, let it go to double zeros, but the referee put 1 second back on the clock, good enough for Evan McPherson to get on the field and try a 67-yard field goal. And wouldn't you know it, it was low enough, it was long enough, hit the crossbar and went over. One problem: Matt LaFleur beat the buzzer and got a timeout called. That saved the Packers 3 points, because on the next attempt after the timeout, with no time remaining, obviously, it was about 5 yards short, and the Bengals were robbed of 3 points.
Would have been an NFL record, Mike. I mean, that would have been something to see, right? And it was so crazy because he took the timeout, and actually it wasn't even synced up to Evan and the ball just about to be snapped. He took the timeout, and then they decided to go ahead and go through the operation. A lot of kickers do that. Like, give me a free practice kick. Let's do this. And I just wonder if that took something out of them. I mean, 67 yards is a long way away. The first one he hit, I think we all were watching it going, that's got a chance. That's got a chance. And then it skips off the crossbar through. The second one didn't even come close.
No.
It is a shame because, A, the Bengals needed points. And
they needed a lift, Skinny.
Yeah, and B,
obviously
lift.
they
I think that
needed
would
the
have been.
points.
I think that would have been a huge lift too. To your point, yeah.
Yeah, and then you come out of halftime and you go down, score a touchdown.
Be tie game.
You got a tie game, and yes, as it turned out, the Packers won this game by 9 points. But the butterfly effect of that sequence at the end of the first half, I think, was pretty significant.
I agree with you.
All right, let's talk about the defense. DJ Turner had a terrific game. Great. He had 4 tackles total. He had 5 passes defended, Skinny.
It's incredible.
But too many missed tackles in the first half and second half. And I don't know where Jordan Battle was.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of missed tackles, but there were a lot of different guys with missed tackles. It'll be interesting when we get that number this week to see how many there were. We can, I know some of the analytics sites will have that, but I know coaches count different things. I'd be interested to hear what they have. That's just part of it. I mean, this defense doesn't have any margin for error, really. And then you miss tackles on top of that. You're just compounding the issue. And it feels like it's been a common theme. Not to the extent of today. The extent of today was more than probably any game they played this season, but it showed up big time, no doubt. Not only in the run game, but in yards after catch stuff.
Josh Jacobs, 18 carries, 93 yards, 5.2 yards a pop. Skinny, that is not good. He gave up. The Bengals did give up a 16-yarder. The one that was most damning to me towards the end of the game, the 14-yarder in the A gap, untouched to the end zone. Skinny, we're in game number 6.
Yeah, you are. But let me just say this. I saw it with my eyes. Ben Baby from ESPN sits next to me, and a lot of times he replays the play with dots, and it reinforced what I saw. So I think we saw a changing of the guard at linebacker today with Barrett Carter playing significant snaps over Logan Wilson. I don't even know if Logan Wilson got on the field after the first quarter, to be honest with you, maybe a snap or two. And what happened on that play is Demetrius Knight went one way, Barrett Carter went another way, and guess what was not in the middle of the field?
A linebacker.
And I know your point's well taken. Like, at the point of attack, you're also allowed to win there, but you have 2 rookies playing. They made a mistake that probably a year from now they don't make, and it costs you a touchdown.
Well, right, and I'm not here to say that it was a defensive line's mistake or the linebacker. Obviously, 2 linebackers, rookies, going in opposite directions and leaving a Grand Canyon in the middle of the field. But it was a defensive breakdown.
Oh, no doubt.
And when you have that kind of breakdown in a 1-score game where you're trying to come back on the road, that is just. There are gut punches. Then there are disheartening plays telling you, we're not there yet. We just don't have the complementary players, the complementary offense and defense to get things done.
Yeah, and I think that's the disappointing part. I mean, we've seen this defense against Detroit. It forced 5 punts. It went the first 3 series of the second half against Denver, forcing 3 straight punts. You see it in little drips and drabs. The first half today, 5 drives is what Green Bay had. One of them ended in an interception. The DJ Turner tipped the ball that Geno Stone intercepted. 2 others ended in punts, and then there was a field goal and a touchdown. That's winning football. And then in the second half, when you get yourself back into it and you need to make a stop, they're just not good enough to make a stop. And I don't know how that changes because it's been really, other than the Cleveland game, I mean, it's been a sieve for the most part. I mean, it felt like a win today, Mike, for them to only give up 400 yards. But that's 400 yards. That's still a ton in this league.
When the offense isn't there, the defense was. When the offense was there, the defense wasn't. And they've got 4 days to fix it against the now 4-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. Talking with Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. This month, Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to not one, not two, but three times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Also new, follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one simple click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you do like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Prize Picks offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss. Download the Prize Picks app today and use that code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Wrapping up this Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod from Lambeau Field, where both of us are sitting in the press box. Skinny, I want to discuss what is ahead for the Bengals and whether or not what you saw in the second half, and the same question was asked, and I asked it of Zach Taylor, what can be built going forward into Thursday night?
Yeah, I think you now have at least a game's bank of knowledge of what Joe Flacco does well, what maybe he doesn't do well. I think you can ride with that you saw some productivity, which we haven't really seen except in garbage time for the most part the last 3 weeks. You saw some productivity with the game still on the line. And I think you can take that glimmer of hope into Thursday and into this 3-game stretch. I think it's this. Coming into this game, on my podcast that I do with Rick Broering, on a couple of radio interviews I did in Cincinnati, I said, just go to Lambeau and play well to the point where you're like, okay, I can see it. Get back home for this 3-game stretch. Turn those 3 things into win, but you have to do it. Okay, that's the thing. It can't be. Listen, moral victories stink. I'm not into those, but again, today would give me a glimmer of hope, at least on the offensive side, that you play the way you did from that last drive of the first half, literally through the end of the game. I think you win all 3 of these games, and you get to 5 and 4 at the bye. You're feeling pretty good. I just don't know with that defense if that's plausible or not. I mean, it's time to go do it. There's no more. This was a okay game today. This gave you some level of belief and hope and all those things. That's all well and good. Now go turn those into wins.
Well, and you know what? Zach Taylor was very sensitive about that postgame. You could tell that he wanted everybody to understand that he doesn't believe in moral victories. And he also acknowledged that the Bengals are not playing complementary football.
No,
they're not going to beat anybody if they're not playing, offense and defense and help one unit helping out the other. And the offense needed most of the help in the last 4 weeks. And finally, they put some drives together. And for the defense to let them down the way they did in the second half, it's disheartening. But I also thought it was interesting what Joe Flacco said after the game. He said, look, we need to everybody do our own job. I felt like I was sitting in a Bill Belichick press conference when Joe Flacco broke into it, but he was right. He was saying, look, that a lot of players can, when they get outside their own obligations and their own comfort zone, can start to feel overwhelmed and can start to feel like this is never going to get better. Well, if you focus on what you can do and do your job to the best level and you put all of those players in the same room, it's funny how things come together. I thought it was a good football psychology 101 from a guy who's been around the NFL for 18 years, is 40 years of age. I thought it was a good message from Joe Flacco postgame.
Yeah, and I know it was one game, but if DJ Turner continues to have performances like today, and he's not going to have 5 passes defensed every week, because if he keeps doing that, they're going to stop going at him, for goodness sakes. But if you can show some level of consistency of being, quote unquote, that team shutdown corner, that Al Golden can know he can just take that side and I'm good with it. You can then rotate some coverage to help other guys. But when you don't have that, he doesn't have that going into this week. You're so worried about everybody. It feels like, man, there's guys just running free all over that secondary at times. So maybe DJ Turner gives you that glimmer of hope too of, okay, I got one cornerback figured out. Dax has the great role as a slot corner. He's played outside some in the base defense. So I got a couple there. I need more. I need more out of Jordan Battle. I need the rookie linebackers to keep inching forward because I do think you're going to see those guys as the guys. I need something out of Jamar Stewart when he comes back. These are all ifs. I get it. But the DJ Turner one would give me a level of, okay, I think I got one cornerback spot solved. Now I got some other stuff I got to do.
Okay, I got to bring it up because I just remembered with you talking about DJ Turner. Cam Taylor-Britt, a very bad series of 2 plays in the period of 3 snaps in that second quarter where the Bengals had the chance to get off the field defensively, and he allows a 31-yard pass completion down the left sideline. And it was a beautiful pass by Jordan Love, don't get me wrong. But when you take a look at the pass completion to Matthew
Golden. Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew Golden. He got beat, and he didn't get his head turned around.
Right. He was, and to your point, I got people clap back at me on Twitter because I said that was I put that on Twitter, kind of what you're talking about right now. And one guy said, "Man, he dropped a dime in there," and I'll give you that. He did, but get your head around, and there's no dime to be dropped in. It's batted away.
Well, you're either beat by a step or you're not.
Right.
And yes, he absolutely did, but he also got beat. And then 2 plays later, he gets called for defensive holding, gives him 1st and goal. And I think 2 plays later, it was Josh Jacobs with his first touchdown of the day. Cam Taylor still needs to be much more consistent on the field. No.
Yeah, and that's where I go back to. If you feel like you've got DJ's spot now pretty solidified, of like I can trust that guy, then you need to figure out the other side, whether it's playing more base and playing Cam outside, whether it's bringing Josh Newton in and playing more snaps, whether it's a rotational thing with Cam. I'm just stunned at the precipitous fall of him as a player, because 2 years ago I thought this dude is going to be the shutdown corner, and it hasn't happened. Again, he didn't have an overall like 7 bad plays at notice, but to your point, you get off the field there, it's a 3-0 game at the half.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here, Skinny. The Jungle War Bengals postgame pod with this quote from Zach Taylor. Our expectation is not to be in the spot we're in right now. I know it's probably really dark outside the building right now, but our guys don't feel that. What do you make of that?
I think he's trying to keep the brave upper lip, and maybe they don't. Maybe they're all about the process. I know losing can start to wear on people, and that's where today, like, if you'd have gotten your teeth kicked in like you had the last 3 weeks, then you go, there's nothing to hang your hat on. I think after today, there's a little something to hang your hat on. You got 3 in a row. You got a short week where you've had to be the one going on the road in the short week, and now you got an AFC North opponent at home on a short week. Go take advantage of it. No more excuses. Today was fine. Today I'm actually okay with today. If it had ended the way they played in the first half, I think I'd have been left scratching my head. But I'm okay with this. This was a nice little step forward that you needed to see. Right now, take that step forward and turn that into a win. And there's really no more excuses for it. You go win, or you're just a bad football team.
What are you working on local12.com, Skinny?
Yeah, kind of along those themes. The theme of the offense, that performance from that last drive on does give you a glimmer of hope that you saw competent quarterback play. You saw what can happen when competent quarterback play starts to get in the rhythm you want. But the defense still leaves you scratching your head, man. And I that's the part I just don't know. I think these are 3 winnable games because they're at home. I don't think Pittsburgh's a world beater, even though they're in first place in the division. So no excuses now. Go win these 3 games. Get yourself kind of back on track heading into the bye. And I think you have a chance over the last 7 weeks to go make the playoffs, as goofy as that sounds.
He is Richard Skinner, does a fabulous job covering the Cincinnati Bengals and the NFL for Local 12 and Local12.com, as he just promoted. Be sure to follow all of his great stuff at those locations. My name is Mike Petraglia, Trags. Be sure to follow my content. Well, I already have the game takeaway and recap up on CLNS Cincy with a Y.com. You can check out all of the Bengals postgame locker room video and reaction at on my X site. That is Trags, Trags. And be sure, as always, to give us a follow and leave your comments below at the Jungle War podcast page on youtube.com. He is Richard Skinner. My name is Mike Petraglia. And for our terrific sponsors, Prize Picks and All Good Home Improvement, we'll catch you Thursday night after the Steelers and Bengals at Paycor Stadium. Until then, keep that jungle roaring.